Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 7 of my Dress Up Darling. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. Alright, so things sort of pick up immediately from the end of the last episode. You know, Marin's really trying to push this whole group cosplay angle, and Juju is not receptive to the idea. You know, she's really a prickly character, and she just, wants to do her own thing and not be involved with anyone else. Of course, she makes the mistake of telling Marin she's renting out a studio for this, and therefore causes her to redouble her efforts. Of course, Marin finally manages to sufficiently sweeten the pot by offering to pitch in and pay for the studio time. You know, I had mentioned this before, that studio time is expensive, and that is indeed true, which sort of makes sense as to why offering to share in the costs would make Juju reconsider. Alright, so Juju's running the math in her head. According to her, 15,000 yen per hour is the going rate. As I recall, 100 yen is about $1, so that's what, 150 an hour? That's nothing to sneeze at if you go in there and waste a bunch of time. You know, even if the photo shoot takes an hour, you're still out $150. So, if Marin is essentially going in for half, that cuts down the cost considerably. So Gojo, oh boy, I get the feeling he's in for something bad. He said he wants to watch the entire show. It's gonna be some 300 episode behemoth, I just know it. I mean, on the one hand, his dedication is admirable. Oh dear. Wow, he really researched that game, didn't he? Wow. I mean, he's dedicated, to say the least. There we go, 126 episodes, so that's 25, 30 minutes per episode, so that's being generous, that's, I don't know, 63 hours, a couple full days. That's a lot of time to sink in something just to get reference material. And it really seems like Gojo's fighting wars on multiple fronts here. Because on the one hand, he's making cosplay and watching anime and doing all that stuff, and on the other hand, he's still trying to maintain and improve his talent at making Hina dolls. Oh boy. Is Grandpa gonna drop the hammer on him? Oh, there we go. That's nice. Because, it was sort of like shaping up as like a bit of a plot point that he hadn't been practicing as much as perhaps he should have been, but it turns out the other skills he'd been practicing seem to have transferred, and so Grandpa's like, you've improved, I'm proud of you. Grandpa's even putting a pretty fine point on it, saying, making that costume and doing the makeup for that girl probably helped you. There we go. Grandpa's got the right idea. You have to take a holistic approach to beauty. You can't get all tunnel visioned. It's nice and heartwarming stuff. Okay, I feel like we're being set up for shenanigans here, Gojo. You're not gonna walk in unannounced, are you? Phew, okay. Oh my, that is a low-cut top right there. Woo. Can't say I blame Gojo for immediately reflecting on that whole bust point thing. Man, Marin doesn't even notice. Woo, lad. Or maybe she does. Wait, what? She doesn't have her contacts in? That's what she's worried about? Oh. That's the first time I've really noticed that, like, her eye color changed. Maybe this is the only time it's come up, but I guess I just kind of assumed pink was her natural eye color in the way that anime often has bizarre hair and eye colors, but contact lenses. I noticed she also put a sweatshirt on, too. The lady doth protest too much about not being embarrassed. Oh boy. Lo and behold, this is another hurdle for Gojo. He's gonna have to go into her room, which might as well be the lair of a dragon. Oh boy. Yep, it's time to Netflix and chill. You might as well, stay and watch some anime, You can cuddle on the couch. Man, there's some ulterior motive here. It's totally not just to lighten the load he has to carry home. Oh boy. I feel like she's almost teasing him deliberately. Wow, that's a very evocative room. I mean, it definitely has everything she likes. I personally wouldn't have expected that. I would have assumed it would be like, sorry about the mess, but it's an immaculately clean room, as things often happen. Oh boy, now we're watching sad magical girl anime. You know, I really appreciate the lengths they've gone to animate another fictional show within the show. Especially because they clearly put some effort into it to sort of copy the general style of the genre. Man, I'd imagine if all these plot points are happening, like, they must be quite a few episodes deep. Seeing as how the other characters had described this as being the emotional crux of the whole thing. I mean, there have been days where I've just, like, basically done nothing but watch anime. Like, I watched all, or rather, most of, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure from Battle Tendency to the end of Stardust Crusaders over, like, a 3-day weekend. That was a good time, man. Nothing but all kinds of crazy stuff for basically 72 hours straight. Alright, so I'm picking up on a little something here. I think the two characters being cosplayed are sort of representative of the relationship Marin wants to have with Juju. You know, those two characters are sort of like big sister and little sister, so they're the only two who are capable of getting along with each other. Ah, man, we're having the conflict between cynicism and optimism represented by Magical Girl anime. That's crazy stuff. Ooh. Uh-oh, Marin. It seems you have accidentally set up a date. Whoopsies. Man, now you're gonna make things awkward for yourself. You're not merely hanging out with a friend anymore. Personally, I think watching anime on a date is perhaps a bridge too far. Yeah, I find it interesting that even though Gojo's generally the jittery, neurotic person here, Marin's the one that's freaking out over essentially Gojo just existing. And he's totally ignorant of the whole thing. He's just glued to the TV. Granted, you know, he's there to do a job and work, so I guess that makes sense that he would be laser focused. I'm surprised he's not actually taking physical notes like he had been before. Ooh. Marin's taking that next step in cooking for him. On the one hand, that has some romantic significance. On the other hand, she's sort of displayed that she's not a particularly good cook. Ooh boy, another fan service scene. Yeah, they're definitely doing this deliberately so it looks like she's only wearing the apron. Those cheeky animators. How did they know to cater to me specifically during this scene? So interestingly, it seems like she's going to actually cook something substantial rather than the usual junk food she does. But on the other hand, that's sort of like playing into a romantic trope, and I don't know, she almost doesn't seem like she can make herself go through with it. Alright, there we go. That sort of, sidestepped my expectations. I figured she would be a bad cook. Well, I guess, oh dear. I was gonna say we're gonna get the good ending where she cooks a fantastic meal, but, she kinda botched the egg part. Sure, it still tastes good, but, in terms of presentation, you get an A for effort, I guess, if not for merit. But you know what? Gojo's not the sort of guy who would get upset about something like that. He'd appreciate the work that went into it. Ooh, some big brain cooking techniques. Cooking the rice with chicken stock instead of just water. That is the big brain maneuver to impart flavor on the rice. That little bit of praise is probably the best thing she's ever heard. Especially coming from him. Well, maybe that's not strictly true. He did call her beautiful after going on kind of a rant about how important the word is. Gojo. Gojo is a kindred spirit here. Sometimes sad stuff gets me down like that too. And so once again, somebody is impressed by his powers of creating highly detailed sketches. So it seems like the issue Gojo's running into now is that he's not really a professional, so he doesn't have set rates for how much to charge and things like that. Especially because Juju is effectively commissioning an outfit. One of the things I really like about Gojo is his sense of curiosity. He noticed something about her pictures and he wants to know how precisely she had achieved changing the shape of her eyes. And I guess it turns out the answer is tape. But special tape, I suppose. Again, I'm not really sure about the realism of that, but I suppose it's possible. This is one of those things where getting the details of eye shape and all that stuff right, to me, seems a bit excessive, but I can understand why they would do it, too. Oh, boy. I feel like Gojo's just trying to make her jealous at this point, saying, yeah, that was the first outfit I ever made. I'm just that good. Alright, so the plot thickens a little bit, Juju has a professional camera and a dedicated photographer, and they touch things up afterwards. Presumably for filtering and stuff like that, color saturation. I really do appreciate Gojo's curiosity. He wants to improve for the sake of helping out his friend, including learning photography. Alright, here comes the sticker shock where Gojo looks up how expensive cameras are, I bet. Alright, I feel like there's going to be some twist here regarding Juju's sister. So she's deliberately said she's a little sister, but I feel like there's going to be some twist here. She's not going to be even shorter and slighter than Juju. She's probably going to be much taller and much more buxom. Because, why not? It's funny. Yep, there we go. My superpower of being able to recognize patterns comes through once again. Although I think the interesting thing is that, despite being taller and more full-figured, she's considerably more shy and meek. I almost feel kind of bad for her, considering she's stuck with someone like Marin, who's very extroverted. Wow, she's also tall, too. Pretty tall. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.